he left the Chick-fil-A to that light where he had to make that decision, have you driven that distance?
I have.
How many times?
10 at least.
How long does it take to get from having left the Chick-fil-A parking lot to that light?
30 to 40 seconds.
So 30 to 40 seconds from the time he has strapped his child in, kissed him, and then he says forgot.
Correct.
At last Thursday's probable cause hearing, we found out a lot about the timeline, the day 22-month-old Cooper Harris died. Let's look back at that fatal day. 6:30 a.m., Cooper wakes up. 7 a.m., the family gets out of bed. 7:15 a.m., Leanna leaves for work. Between 7:15 a.m. and 9:19 a.m., Justin and Cooper watch cartoons, then drive to Chick-fil-A for breakfast. At 9:19 a.m., surveillance video shows Justin strapping in and kissing Cooper. The father and son then leave Chick-fil-A. They drive 0.6 miles to Justin's work, passing the turn to Cooper's daycare. At 9:25 a.m., 6 minutes later, Justin gets to work. Surveillance video shows Justin sitting in the car for an additional 30 seconds before reaching for his laptop bag in the passenger seat, then exiting the car. 11:30 a.m., Justin is picked up by two friends for lunch. They go to Publix, UPS, and Home Depot, where Justin buys light bulbs. 12:30 p.m., Justin is dropped off at his car. He opens the driver's side door and throws in the light bulbs. He then walks towards work, pauses as someone passes him and his car, and then, on video, he appears to talk to someone on his cell phone, though police later said there was no record of any call until hours later. At 1:30 p.m., Justin gets a group email from Cooper's teacher. At an unknown time, Justin sends a text to his wife saying, "When are you going to get my buddy?" Throughout the day until 3 p.m., Justin exchanges explicit texts with 6 different women, including a teenage girl. 3:45 p.m., Justin contacts friends through interoffice mail to let them know he'll be late for a 5 o'clock movie. 4 p.m. Between 4 p.m. and 4:07 p.m., Justin and his wife Leanna play phone tag. At 4:07 p.m., the couple talk for 1 minute. 4:16 p.m., Justin leaves work with the windows up. He begins his drive towards the movie theater. About 4:20 p.m., Harris stops his car less than 2 miles from work and discovers Cooper's lifeless body in the rear child seat. Of course, there are so many holes in this timeline, and we're going to try and plug them in the few minutes that we have here today, or talk about them at least. So first off, what struck me was at lunch, and I want you guys to weigh on this. At lunch, he drops the light bulbs in the car. He walks away from the car. Cameras catch him pausing as someone passes him, and then he gets on the phone. But the investigator said, the police officer said, there's no record of any phone calls. So what's happening there? I mean, what's happening there?
First of all, Yasmin, great work with that piece on the timeline, all right? Now, the second thing is that think about the big picture here. You remember to get light bulbs, right? But you don't remember that your child is in the car. So there's so much that you can play on this. Also, if you look at your timeline, right? He comes out of the Chick-fil-A, straps his son in, has ample opportunity before, Yasmin, he even gets into his office to notice that his child is there. Based on the timeline that you presented, it just doesn't add up, and it doesn't, guys, really past the reasonableness in terms of the smell test.
And to that point, Joey, why, when he got the group email from the daycare asking, you know, about Cooper, did he not think, oh my goodness, why was that not an alert button for this dad, who at that point could have then pressed the rewind button? And, you know, heaven forbid, that was only, I think, around 1 or 1:30. Maybe that could have been enough time to save little Cooper.
And was he faking a phone call because the person passed him and he didn't want to seem suspicious? That's what feels suspicious
and that's what's really interesting to me, because he said there was no record of any phone calls, but yet the guy gets on the phone at that moment.
To not look
around
odd around that car.
Maybe that's what it is. Also, I think a lot of people just want to know real quick, what is the law about subpoenaing text messages, emails? I mean, there must be new laws that have been put into place.
Yes. Well, yeah, but the concern is chain of custody, right? You know, and making sure that it's coming directly from the source that recorded it. So I couldn't just take my own personal printouts of an email you sent me, Jasmine, but certainly Google or Yahoo or that domain could be subpoenaed by law enforcement, and then it'd be more likely to get into evidence.
Sure. I will also just say, if we look at the timeline, this guy spent maybe about 4 hours working the entire day. 9:30, he gets in at 9:30, he leaves for lunch at 11:30, he gets back, he goes 12:45, he leaves work at 4 to go to a movie.
Yeah, it's just crazy because you got to think, look, people get preoccupied, you know, we all have multiple things to do, but one of those multiple things is checking in on our families, right?
Well,
and it just belies common sense.
All right, well, we're going to keep plugging those holes, hopefully.